I'll be honest, I've spent a lot of evenings staring at cheap DIY NAS kits that promised terabytes of storage for a fraction of the price, only to discover they couldn't keep up with a single 4K stream, let alone a family's photo archive. The regret that follows having to replace drives, deal with corrupted files, or scramble for a backup makes me pause before I click Add to Cart. That's why today I'm taking a deep look at the Asustor DiscTech 36TB NAS bundle, a pre-built system that claims to solve those pain points. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I want to see if this unit truly feels like a smarter buy or just another expensive piece of hardware that sounds good on paper. First off, let's talk about the type of user who actually needs something like this. If you run a home media server that streams 4K videos to multiple devices at once, manage a growing library of raw photos and video projects, or you're a small business that wants a reliable, always-in file share without having to juggle separate backup solutions, the DiscTech bundle starts to make sense. On the flip side, if you're a casual user who only backs up a few gigabytes of documents, or you already have a decent external drive that you connect once a week, you'll probably find the price hard to justify. The bundle includes an Asustor AS5402T chassis, two 16TB SATA hard drives, 1TB NVMe M.2 SSDs, 8GB of RAM, and dual 2.5 GB Ethernet ports all in one box. That's a lot of everything, and it's this completeness that both simplifies the buying process and forces you to consider whether you truly need every component. Now, let's walk through the real-world setup. Out of the box, you'll find the chassis pre-installed with the two 16TB HDDs and the 4 SSDs already seated in the appropriate bays. The first thing you'll notice is the dual-port 2.5 GB network cards. For most home internet connections, 1 GB is already more than enough, but if you have a router that supports 2.5 GB or a direct-attach fiber link, the extra bandwidth can make a noticeable difference when multiple users pull large files at the same time. I tested this by connecting two laptops via a 2.5 GB switch and streaming a 4K video from the NAS while copying a 100 GB folder of raw footage to a third machine. The video streamed without stutter, and the file copy completed in just under 45 seconds, far quicker than the 90+ seconds you'd see on a typical single gigabit NAS. The inclusion of 4 1TB NVMe SSDs is where the value really shows up, but it also raises a question: do you need that many fast drives? The SSDs are primarily used for caching, which means that frequently accessed files, think your current editing projects or the most watched movies, are kept on the ultra-fast storage, while the bulk of your data sits on the 32 terabytes of spinning disks. In practice, this hybrid approach gives you the performance of an all-SSD system for hot data without the insane cost of 36 terabytes of pure NVMe storage. If your workflow involves moving large video files around daily, the cache can shave minutes off render times. If, however, you mostly store documents and occasional photos, the SSD cache will sit idle most of the time, and you might not see a tangible benefit. Hardware transcoding is another headline feature that often gets tossed around without context. The AS5402T's Intel processor supports real-time transcoding of multiple streams, which is a lifesaver if you run Plex or a similar media server and want to stream to devices that can't handle the native bitrate. I set up Plex, added a 4K 60 frames per second movie, and streamed it to a smart TV that only supports 1080p. The NAS handled the transcode on the fly, with CPU usage hovering around 35%. Without a capable processor, you'd either get buffering or have to manually pre-convert the file, both undesirable for a seamless viewing experience. For creators who need to share large raw files with clients who might not have high-speed connections, the ability to transcode on demand is a practical advantage. Let's discuss the hidden trade-offs. The first is power consumption. Running two 16TB drives and 4 NVMe SSDs around the clock draws a noticeable amount of electricity, roughly 30 W at idle and up to 55 W under load. Over a year, that can add up, especially if you're on a tighter budget. The second trade-off comes with noise. The chassis uses standard cooling fans that spin up when the HDDs hit higher temperatures, which is fine for a home office but can be distracting if you have the NAS in a living area. Lastly, the software interface, while feature-rich, has a learning curve. Asustor's ADM OS offers apps for backup, surveillance, and cloud sync, but setting up the SSD cache and the transcoding profiles took me about 30 minutes of reading the manual and watching a few tutorial videos. If you're not comfortable digging into network storage settings, you may find the initial configuration more time-consuming than you expected. Who should definitely buy this?